you have to do a risk assessment, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, people just don't even know this stuff because
We
the
can
doctors shouldn't talk about
Yes, are you?
How you doing?
This is a fellow I've been getting some conversations with for a while, Ben Heather, and he sit
How
down.
you doing?
Oh, he's done a lot of work, but we do.
You had your 2 minutes?
No, in 3 weeks is the next one.
3 more weeks.
3 more weeks.
Oh, my God. Okay, let's.
I can, it's not a great time for me, but I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really not going. Don't
Sorry. Okay.
Good.
What's
Virtually, Aaron Mannix.
Aaron Madison.
Good to see.
Jane had emailed, I sent Jane.
Yes,
email,
so
And I just said, you know, just go to the page, so I don't know if she's on there.
I don't know, she's not on yet, so.
I said, if you just took it to the agenda.
I just talked to.
Oh, yes, so,
I guess I can see how well read my agendas are.
oh,
Soon,
you know, yeah,
But, so let's, hopefully we can sit down in a few minutes, but why don't we start, it's 4 minutes after 4. The approval of minutes of July 16th, I circulated those minutes. Everybody's had a chance to see them.
I have one comment.
Okay.
My last name is spelled wrong.
Oh, no.
I mean, I hadn't said anything earlier meeting.
Do I spell it right?
Well,
You know what I spell it
You
right?
know, I should know this. It's SKY, not SKI.
That's good. Why?
No, no problem.
We will,
Let it go for months.
I will ask for a vote to approve the minutes of the July 16th meeting of the one correction that Michael Kaminsky's name is still correctly. So we will do that. So, let's just talk about that quickly, about the communications thing. Apparently, I talked to John Michael Parker yesterday and asked, I said, well, is anything happening in Hartford? Is anything going on as far as this special session of I don't know, Vance, do you have any knowledge of this? With anything about the special session on housing, what they're?
Just that it's obviously coming up again, 5002, that's coming up again, right? In the special session, whenever that's being
Well,
called.
apparently there's nobody even talking about a special session at this point, so.
I thought they were.
Pardon?
My understanding was that they were gonna have that pretty much solely for that purpose, but maybe I'm.
That was my understanding
Yeah.
too, and we were working on, and Michael has done a sort of brochure that we could use to hand out at different events and such about what is affordable housing, so people can have an understanding that it is on our website, on the town website, but I would guess that pretty much no one ever has ever gone there. So we're going to try to do our outreach, but I asked to hold it for a month because I felt that it was, if there's going to be major changes, you know, we don't want to go out there with major changes.
Right.
So, I don't know. Shall we wait a little bit longer or shall we just go with stuff that what we have right now? I mean, it's going to cost, you know, like what do you say it's going to cost?
Was it about $1,000?
$1,000 to print it up.
From where?
Tyco,
For how many copies?
500. I mean, and some of that was actually setting up, you know, the setup fee of setting it up, doing all the graphics. Partner.
We should make sure that we have funds
Jane?
to pay for that. In the shared board and
I
committee.
can't see or hear you. Let me just see.
Is
Jane is calling in. She said she can see us and hear us, but we can't see her. Is it?
Oh.
Is something?
that's been happening.
Has it?
Maybe town funds should go to fix that first.
We'll try to fix it.
Is she on?
She said she could hear us and see us.
She's a participant. Or she's just an attendee. So we have to promote her to a panelist.
Oh, I see. Otherwise she
She
can
has-
see. Okay.
Yep. So she joined not through the email link, but through the agenda.
She did come through the agenda. Yes.
So she should accept that. Here she comes.
Okay.
Right.
Issues.
Okay, Jane, we could see you now.
You're picture is not, you don't have the,
This way you'll see if anything from the public.
Yeah, Jen, I think your camera is off if that's what you intend.
okay, end of, okay.
Aaron, would the committee be,
There we go.
eligible to get some printing done through CCM?
I don't know. You'd have to look at CCM. We have a budget, a shared budget account for boards and commissions. So what we would need to do is get an invoice from Tyco.
Okay.
Or proposal, as well as the brochure that we can review and then see what that would cost. If we don't have the budget for that, we may be able to look.
So
It still has to come out of the budget.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah,
it may
it's
not.
something.
So I have an email proposal from them. Is that good enough to send?
It needs to be. I've
It
had
probably should
trouble
be
with
better.
Tyco with various committees where they're sending emails to members of committees and it's not
I think we
an
better.
actual proposal
Okay.
for the town.
I would like to feel written the same thing, you just,
Yeah,
we can do that right away. But the question, I guess, is, and
Right.
if there is. And of course, what could, a special session could end with 0-2. I mean, that's nothing comes out of it, I suppose, is one of the possibilities. Shall we
you
wait
can
another
move
30?
forward with what you have on a smaller number of
I
copies.
just
and
hate
if
to
there's
spend any money on
changes-
something that like maybe the next day we throw out. That's what they have.
Yeah.
What kind of information are you providing?
We're providing the same information that's on the website. Basically, Michael took the website facts and FAQs and converted it into a form. You were not around, excuse me.
I think the concern, I thought the concern was more than money, getting out information that then might change.
Yeah.
No, it's more important that we don't want to spend money on something that might disappear, be worthless a day later. That's,
Well, at this point, if you wait till October, you're gonna know if session is being called. So if you push it off a month.
that's what I'm
maybe a
thinking.
little
That's the committee to agree to that. So,
I mean, we've told, obviously, we've lost with the
We can miss the
original,
summer.
the original intent was that we could go, like when we started talking about this, 5 months ago. That we could just sit at the table at the farmer's market
Right.
and blah, blah, blah. And of course, that's really all over now. So to be honest.
it's not
I don't
over
think
till
there's a-
Thanksgiving. Not
Yeah,
till Thanksgiving.
it does go to.
But it drops,
Well, but they're- but
it drops.
People,
For all intents and purposes, the outdoor kind of handing out of stuff is pretty much coming to an end very shortly. Certainly before any meeting and decisions are going to happen in Connecticut. In the legislature, or in practically at the end of September, and we're gonna have a meeting date. So, I mean, personally, I don't really feel strongly about not doing it or doing it. I'm just not sure if we do it at this point, and we think we're gonna start handing these things out at the end of October, beginning of November, where are we handing them out?
we'll figure that out. The question is whether we want to even have it. And I think that we should wait at least for another 30 days to see if there's anybody.
See,
Because, I mean, I hate the deal. 833 is gonna be the one that everybody looks at and they accuse, and if it doesn't exist anymore, it was not in the original legislation that was vetoed. So I don't know. Put us in the problem, and I don't want to spend that money, but I also just don't want to waste money necessarily. So let's see what happens in the next 30, let's say 30 days, middle of October. We should know something about it, what's going on. We may not know the answer, but we'll know something.
And I just have one substantive comment. In the draft I got back from Tyco, there are 4 or 5 typos that I've found corrected. I still am confused about the actual numbers at the.
Yes, we never got.
You got my message though, that you had left out one of the things, right?
That was,
When I compared the ones that are on our FAQs, the itemized units, one of them was missing. So if you added that in, it would give you 147. Send an email.
okay, I'll go find that. Problem is, if you look at government assisted rental, tenant rental assistance, single family, that number, it's 163. So unless there's a double counting, even the 143 is a little bit.
It was 147. Let me just look.
The reporting is behind a year.
And so I've even tried to allude to the fact that some of the numbers may not be.
Yeah,
But-
I sent you an email telling you that here is missing one of the things that's on
One
there.
that has units.
If you want to send me the template, I'm happy to look at it also compared to our. So I have to do the reporting, so I should have.
Okay.
Jane has her hand raised.
I think.
Can you hear, Jane? We
No, we
can't
can't
hear
hear you.
your mic, yeah, your microphone must not be
Yeah.
connected.
Warren, before we leave, let's just make a copy of this. Here with the super sure.
Oh, yeah.
We don't need that, I mean, just before. we move on. Jane, have you got that worked out yet?
Thank you.
Working on
Does
a,
anyone else need?
No.
Do I have one?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that that should, you handed something that's not correct.
No, they're not gonna hand out.
Okay, so-
Yeah, you know what? It's a draft and there are some questions, so I just want to.
Yeah.
Okay, but I wouldn't be handing out drafts and things to people that aren't okay.
Yeah, and again, I've handwritten marks that show us.
Can't give it to you.
Want to write draft only on the front of it?
You can, I'll tell you
You know
what
what
you
you
can
can
do.
do, you can go to our website and go to the FAQs and that, it will be all there.
It's really basically
It's really
the
basic.
FAQ, so yeah, happy to avoid that.
By the way, I just texted a colleague of mine who's a state senator. He said that it looks like it'll be in October. That's what he's hearing, but nothing
But-
for the special session.
Well, that's what they were saying.
Yeah, so that still seems to be the case.
Okay, and I think, actually, Vance, why don't you just give us a little bit of your background too, so that people here, I mean, you and I have had some time to talk about it, but just, you know, the kind of experience you've had with the affordable housing problem issues.
Yeah, you see the scars, don't
Yeah,
you?
right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, my name's Vance Taylor. I'm a resident of Madison. I've been a resident for a little over 20 years. My wife Bethany was now retired, was a teacher at Jeffrey and Ryerson and spent a little over 20 years in kindergarten and first grade. That's how she knows how to deal with me. About the same emotional level. So, but I've been involved in the brokerage of commercial real estate for almost 40 years. And within the last 10 to 15 years, got involved.
We're not gonna do that.
I can't say.
Yeah, because it's a draft.
Okay.
But over the last 10 to 15 years, I've gotten involved with affordable housing developer who I've represented in identifying properties here in Connecticut that would be suitable for affordable housing. So far, the developer has done, and I've helped vet the properties, and that's my role. But because of that, and we've done 5 so far. 2 here along the shoreline, 1 each in Waterford and East Line. The East Line one was 58 unit townhouse. The Waterford one's I think it's 44 or 46 unit apartment complex, two buildings each with like 22 or 23 units in them. And then a few of the developments in which I've been involved with them in Waterbury were repurposing of previously constructed buildings. One, a mill building, the other one, a defunct apartment building that he was able to gut rehab, gorgeous building built in the 1920s, listed on the National Register. So it was great to see it preserved. And then currently, I'm originally from currently under construction is a 48 unit townhouse development in Plymouth. So, and I've also served during times volunteered and served on the board of directors of NeighborWorks New Horizons in New Haven, which was Salem Mascara Bruno's former organization before she was appointed Commissioner of Housing by Governor of Vermont, and involved in several other related affordable housing organizations in the New Haven area. So because of my living here and interest in affordable housing and now taking a look and talking a little bit about how Academy and Park might be a good candidate for at least a portion of the building to be considered for housing with an emphasis on affordable housing. It just seemed like it was a good time maybe to have sit in on your meeting and to listen to what you're doing and see if there's some way that maybe from some of my network with developers and other folks in the affordable housing field that maybe I can be a resource for you if nothing else. Which I'm happy to.
Any questions yet? I think the conversions, I mean, the academy school, it's not on our agenda, but I think it's part of our job. We'll talk about that later on. But I think the real, I guess, one of the issues that we have is we're trying to build an environment where affordable housing is acceptable. And I am sure from your slings and with the wounds that you've had, what are the, there's always an organized opposition to almost anything. And have you seen anything that we should learn from? I mean, in terms of getting the word out?
Yeah, if you wanted a common denominator in the affordable housing thing, and I've seen it, and I've been to way too many planning and zoning commission meetings and town meetings and boards of selectmen meetings. And I think the common denominator is the misunderstanding and misperception of what affordable means. And to too many people, the term is rapidly equated to low income. It's rapidly equated to those kind of people would be moving into town. It's equated to a lot of things that it's not. And when at a recent meeting in my hometown where the discussion came up, and one of the housing authority chair in my hometown of Plymouth said to the Planning and Zoning Commission when they got into this conversation that chances are all of the members of the commission, and not to mention everyone in the audience, would probably be eligible for affordable housing. When you realize it's, as high as 80% of the area median income, and in Litchfield County, that AMI is a little over 100,000, and I'm sure it's the same thing here in Madison. So certainly, anyone earning at least 80,000 or so, or family earning 80,000 or so, could in fact be eligible, could potentially qualify. So I think that to me is the biggest thing in trying to explain what affordable housing is, explain that it's for folks, not all the chronically unemployed, although certainly some could be, or people living on Social Security could be, but probably more importantly are the folks, and I've had this conversation with colleagues of mine, that their children are living out of state and can't afford to come back. And when you think that here in Madison, educators, police officers, UPS and FedEx drivers, and a whole host of other folks would likely qualify for affordable. So I think that's getting that, and especially in a high-end community like Madison, it would seem important to convey that message that we're not talking necessarily low income as they like, or Section 8. That's the other thing that is often equated with affordable, but rather we're talking about housing that can hopefully be affordable for the kind of folks who in many cases are already maybe living here and burdened by the cost of housing, or maybe would like to live here, maybe work here, but just don't have the opportunity given the price tag. So that to me is probably the single biggest item, is just trying our best to somehow mitigate the misperception of what affordable housing is.
Yeah, I think you make the real, you're saying people in this audience, you can all qualify for it. We have looked into like the cops and the and teachers. I mean, they're right now their current salaries, not looking at individuals, but looking at the range of salaries, as they would all qualify for affordable housing in town. Jane, you were trying to get through, or have you been?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, great. Okay. So I think it's very interesting that that's the first thing that's a common denominator. I think also when you start talking about regulations and you start putting numbers and letters out there like 830G, people kind of glaze over. I actually was going to talk to you, Michael, about that. I think we should eliminate any mention of 830G. Plus, it might go away anyway. I think really simple stats, and for Madison, the latest statistics from 2024, that's the most recent that we have, it says 28% of the population are cost burden, and they're paying more than 30% of their income for housing. I think we have to keep it really, really simple, and then maybe relay a few uh, professions where, that can be cited with regard to, who's in Madison and what are they doing. Ironically, when you look at some of those stats, most of the jobs in Madison are in government. Hey, guess what? We're sitting right here amongst people who are probably trying to figure out how to, move into a house that's affordable around here.
which is increasingly a difficult number to reach. I think you said something around, Jane, of the last quarter, the median house sold was over $750,000.
Yeah, well, that's always changing, but it's reached, over $700,000. That could go down, depends on which part of the inventory is selling at any one point in time, but it really, really is kind of eye-opening and mind-boggling. And you're starting to see what you're starting to see in the market right now are days on market starting to extend because people have gotten to a point where they're like, wow, it's, the buyers are becoming very aware of, what the cost is and understanding that, who knows what's going to happen in the next year or so with all the changes being made in the government anyway, or federal government, I should say. But yeah, so I think that I think your insight is very important to us, Vance. It's nice meeting you, and we'd love to get some input and some of your oversight with regard to the market in general for affordable housing. It's a very complex thing to build, so maybe at some point in time you might want to do a little presentation on how you guys go about, making your decisions and financings and how that all works and goes together.
And that's a good point. Good meeting you too. The most affordable housing, if you attempted to do it using conventional financing means and tools, wouldn't pencil out. So,
No.
so clearly that's where, and I'm sure you know the term LIHTC, LA is acronym for low income housing tax credits.
Yep.
LIHTC is a driver. Department of Housing does a number of programs of soft cost sort of forgivable mortgages that typically are as long as 40 years. So there are a variety of funding pots, funding stacks that are available to an affordable housing developer, some of which are competitive. So it takes a lot of time and effort. This developer with whom I've been involved, it could spend conceivably $200,000 plus or minus for full-blown architecturals and site plans and all the other kind of detail that CHFA requires just for the pleasure of submitting an application without any promise whatsoever that you be approved. So it's a high risk gamble. If you win, it's great. But I think that's why I'm interested to see what kinds of additional funding is going to be rolled out by the Department of Housing. I know that CHFA started a program, which is also pretty interesting, called what is it called? I'm going to forget the name now. It's called Build for Connecticut, but it's Build the number 4 CT, Build for CT. And Build for CT is a program to induce a different kind of affordable housing other than the ones we're talking about where, it's based on a percent of AMI, typically anywhere from, say, a low of 30 to a high of 80 with an average of 60% AMI. But Build for CT is a program that comes in behind a conventional mortgage. Because I mentioned earlier, if you just use conventional, the numbers don't work. But this, for example, through CHFA, it provides for secondary financing. It provides for financing of up to $125,000 per unit of secondary financing of the construction cost. It provides it at an interest rate. I think it's something like 1 or 2%. The interest rate's crazy. And the only stipulation in using it is that, don't hold me to the percentages, I haven't looked them, but I think it's at least 30% of the total units have to have an AMI between 80 and 125%. So under that program, if it's a blended mortgage, basically, and the state obviously subordinates to any conventional financing. So the first mortgage holder is not at all compromised by that. But the benefit, of course, is under that program, unlike the ones where we're looking for different income levels that are lower income levels. This one, actually, you could be earning, let's say the AMI here is what, 100,000 roughly, give or take. You could be earning up to 125,000 a year and still qualify under this program, which
Oh, wow.
is, those are the kind of things where I think it would be instructive maybe for your committee to maybe have a conversation, which I'd be happy to arrange with someone from the Department of Housing who handles the low income and related programs. Probably even more importantly would be one of the folks in the multifamily group and the financing group from CHFA, since they're really sort of the conduit for a lot of the funding that happens.
Yeah.
Just to get a better appreciation for the kinds of funding resources that are already there and how they could potentially be of benefit to a developer here in Madison. But that one in particular, given Madison, might be even a more attractive one to have a developer come in and know that they could blend their rates between the conventional financing, which happily seems to, maybe rates are a little lower now as of today. The Fed wrote lower the quarter point. So maybe that has some impact on financing too. But then when you have this other financing at such an extremely attractive rate and it can be subordinate to the first, why not,
What you make a very good point. One of the things I was thinking was there are so many sources listed on the state website with regard to opportunities for funding for affordable housing. The thing is, though, not all are going to be appropriate for building affordable housing in Madison. So one of the key elements would be to say, okay, let's take a look at this list and let's figure out which sources are actually going to be applicable to us. And also, if we were to develop a housing trust, which ones could we actually go to and potentially get some money if there was a development that we wanted to fund as a town or to help fund as a town, not that we'd be able to fund a development, but maybe help at some point in time.
And I think to have some ideas on where affordable housing could occur, where it could occur, hopefully within half a mile of the train station, which is another bonus. Those kinds of things would be useful to try to start to inventory potential sites or facilities that could accommodate affordable development. I do know, because I speak with him occasionally, the guy who now runs Commissioner Mascara Bruno's former organization, where I had served on the board for a while as a volunteer. And he had told me that when I mentioned something about Madison, he said the commissioner would love to see an affordable development in Madison, that it's sort of prime land for affordability, for an affordable development, and that, we would definitely have the commissioner's blessing should we identify something. And so the likelihood of getting the financing a developer would need here in Madison is quite good.
Yeah. I can tell that by the criteria for the tax credits and the rank order of the land in Madison. Unfortunately, though, we have not a lot of land around our town center because south of it, a lot of the land is in flood zones. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of availability. That's what we're trying to go through all the town parcels now to ascertain what might be appropriate if we were to try to build something with some density, towards the village.
The other thing too that's interesting, again, Madison being Madison and the kind of the vibe here, very typically an affordable development can also be, at least in part, if not whole, an artist-led workspace. And in fact, in Hamden, NeighborWorks, the commissioner's former organization, developed just that. They had artists' lofts, artist studios, And so it became sort of an artist live work community. But again, artists certainly fall within that eligibility, most of them, unless they're Picasso. But otherwise, you know,
He's dead.
yeah, that's true. Yes, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
But the point being that you know, you wouldn't think ordinarily of, oh, artists. But here, if let's say, just as an example, if a portion of the Academy property was developed for housing and became a community of artists where they would live, they would have their studios where they could retail their artwork. Certainly that the funding is there to make something like that happen. Veterans is another area, and there's some special funding that are available for veterans. I've been involved in a project right now where the focus on the development is for veterans. Veterans, interestingly enough, I've done some market research on it. For the veteran population here in Connecticut actually has a higher percentage that are burdened at 30% or overburdened at 35% than the general population is. So the veterans are taking a particularly heavy hit when it comes to finding affordable housing. So maybe again, if we want to try to nuance affordable housing here in Madison so that it doesn't sound so frightening to some folks because they think that busloads of people are going to be brought in from neighboring communities or whatever, then maybe to nuance it by talking about the benefits that this could have to the veteran community, benefits could have to the arts community. So I think there are ways, again, to introduce it that might make it far more receptive here, given the fabric of the community.
Are you talking about doing, actually specifying that veterans would be in a certain location or artists are in a certain location?
My understanding, and I've had that, it's a good question. My understanding in talking with the folks who run the programs is it can't be quite that specific, but that you can say with an emphasis on, with a focus on, preference to. Although the one in Hamden, and maybe I should arrange for us to go have a look at it, because the one in Hamden, my understanding is, was pretty much exclusively for artists live work.
Yeah, I think it depends on the financing too. I mean, obviously.
But those are the, you know, the so-called low-income housing tax credits
Yeah.
that drove that one. So that's where I'm thinking something like that for Academy or whatever would be very appealing here.
Be worth visiting him.
You know what?
What do you got? Anything?
I did
Yes,
not
yeah.
catch your, I'm taking minutes.
Vance Taylor.
Dan or Van?
Oh, it's Vance, it's VANCE.
T-A-Y-O.
Uh-huh, TAYLOR.
Yeah, I think.
I have another
Somebody-
question.
No,
When you were talking about the places that you've done in Waterford and Waterbury, Plymouth, and you talked about 42, 44, 50, whatever those numbers were, are those all affordable housing? Is that 30%? What is that?
Good question again. Those are the ones in which I've been involved are all tax credit deals. And the tax credit deal, again, through CHFA, these are the so-called 9% low-income housing tax credits. They're called 9% because they're good for 10 years. So if a developer is successful enough in winning this set aside, they would end up with an amount of tax credits that effectively could cover 90% of the project costs. So it ends up meaning in a case like that, example would be the one in Plymouth. The total project's, I think, around 22 or 23 million, and the debt on it's roughly 2 or 3 million. So basic.
I think the question is of those 48.
Yeah, thank you. I digressed. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what percentage are designated?
Typically, CHFA requires 90% of the total to be affordable and 10% therefore could be market. Sometimes it's 80-20, but if you're using the so-called tax credits, then the requirement of that is that you know, at least 80, if not 90% of the total project has to be affordable. With the other one I mentioned, the bill for Connecticut, that's like, as I say, I think it's 30% of the total has to be affordable. The other one that comes into mind, if people are looking for financing, is historic buildings are eligible for federal and state historic tax credits. If anyone would redevelop Academy, that would apply. And under that program, then once again, you get a bonus if a portion of your total project is affordable. In that case, it's typically 20% has to be affordable. But most of the money out there really is looking for a high percentage of affordable, with affordable again being anywhere from 80% area median income down to probably about 30 and averaging to 60.
Is there any difference in what they offer rentals versus non-rentals?
The only things in which I've been involved were rentals. So as far as ownership goes, I do have a colleague of mine who does kind of first time home buyers and helping people get into their first home, or maybe they're getting into a duplex and they're owning the duplex and they're renting one unit and living in the other, and the rent helps cover the mortgage, stuff like that, you know. But I could bring someone in who again would know better than I about how the ownership thing works. I admit I'm a generalist, but hopefully through just hanging out and networking for a number of years, I can certainly find the people to answer the questions and invite them to come and share.
Any comments?
Yep.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's very, very, very helpful, and I think we will call on you to provide some of those opportunities. Want to talk about housing trust fund, where we are with that.
Yeah.
We will be looking, I think, probably the end of October, looking to make a presentation to the board, selectmen to have a housing trust fund. This will require us to put together a very comprehensive proposal. And I think Jane has suggested, and if you want to add to it, Jane has suggested that we create a working group of the whole, if you will, that we try to get together, have our regular meetings, but try to get together and get specifically about that. And so that we can put together a real proposal that actually can be acted on, and that it's up to the board of selectmen to decide what they want to act on. And so how's that stand?
Sure.
We could probably do a lot of that with Zoom.
Okay.
Don't have to be necessarily in-person meetings, but I think over the next, say, 30 days, then to October, I think we need to think about maybe meeting on a regular basis. Meanwhile, we can assign to each of us, to any of us, including me, to be able to sort of just begin the drafting this document. So first thing is I will do is I'm going to go and take the Guilford information that we have. Guilford did one last year, and using that as a template, put together a proposal that we can then add to, and then it can, do whatever we have to do to make it more complete, so that we can actually understand it, vote on it at some point. So I would like to try to have meetings once a week, and I will set out some schedules. So if each of you would give me what your non-availabilities are.
I can just tell you right now, we're meeting on the 21st of September, remember,
21st.
24th. Oh,
Key.
yeah, and I'll go to the 12th. So I'm gonna be out of the country, so there's no Zoom meeting.
Well, can you receive emails that we know what we're doing?
Yeah, sure.
So,
I can look at email.
Anthony, Michael, Jane, but I need from each of you that is where what you can't, for some reason. And we'll start off with Susan, and then we'll see that just exchange.
So-
email stuff.
If everyone's meeting, it's a meeting.
No, it's not everybody, because we have
Well,
one,
okay.
Well, if it's a quorum.
it's a working,
there's-
it's a working,
Well, can you call them special meetings?
no, it's not a special meeting. You don't want a special meeting.
Well, but what she's looking
Yeah,
at.
Well,
I agree. No, I heard what Aaron said.
if you have
I heard what Aaron said.
three out of the 5 members of the committee meeting to do work on behalf of the committee, that's a
That will
meeting.
be reported back to the.
So if you have a couple of you on the side working, but it can't be all of you.
Okay, well, we'll be honest.
Well, yeah, because
Well, that,
Don't be honest.
yeah,
Just-
I'll make this a meeting or two until after October 11th, the wedding, I'll be better, but
Okay, that's sort of where we are.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we will not have a special
There's
meeting.
some special trust.
yeah.
Special meeting is a regular meeting that's called.
Then we don't
off the
have-
schedule, the official schedule, yeah, which is every first and third Wednesdays.
But, by the way, I don't want to dismiss these comments. If 3 of the 5 of us have a meeting, let's not, and a small meeting,
That's a quorum.
it's a quorum,
It's a
it's a meeting.
and it needs to be at
Yeah.
So
That's the law.
I will designate.
I'm
one of
sorry
you
to
not
be that
show up.
person, but that's.
I will designate one of you not to show up, so.
Yeah.
Let's in the four.
What can I do to?
And we just lost Francine anyway. Okay. But I don't think we can't do this. I mean, practically speaking, if we would speak crazy, if we had tried to have a special meeting, 5 special meetings.
Yeah.
Well, that's why, yeah. if
Yeah,
you're
so
gonna
we
have
will
a-
have to,
A couple of people working on it, that's how it.
right, and that's what we'll do. Jane? I would like you to share the working group. Okay?
Yeah.
I will be your sous chef. So wherever I can, helping either drafting stuff or, organizing stuff, so. And then we'll have identify for different meetings, different people. So that's, we don't have a meeting so that we can have some independent research that being done. Collected together afterwards, so.
Just a question, how would you envision the housing trust fund working?
Well, that way we see it working is setting up a separate fund by the Board of Selectmen. In which monies could be put, that would be there to help facilitate the a developer in trying to, I mean, for example, the $200,000 you're talking about, that has to be spent up front, that perhaps can do some of that work in terms of, water issues, topography, soil samples done paid out of a trust fund.
And the source of those funds would be exclusively town funds, or would they be other funds
There'd
as
be
well?
other we're not town funds. We're not suggesting it. It can be town funds. It doesn't have to be town. It can be just out of budget. Or it could be designating certain sources of revenue for the town that could be used to go into fund and not be in.
Vance, it's a good question. One of the things that I was looking at is, Connecticut has their own housing trust fund run by the state. And they also make contributions to local housing trust funds for various projects. So, and whether it be grants or loans or just outright, giving money to the town, monetary gifts. But we also wanted to be able to tap into any potential monetary gifts from any of the local residents. In addition to trying to narrow down that list that we were talking about earlier, where there are potential state and or federal agencies that we might be eligible for with regard to funding. So it's really a mechanism to sort of identify we would work with this and try to identify the sources. And then also it sort of sends a message out into the community that this is a priority for Madison, and that we want to move forward, and we want to sort of take control over the process. And one way to control that process is to be able to put money towards a development or an initiative that involves affordable housing.
Yeah, well, and the questions of how it'll be funded, those are still, that's part of what we'll have to do and come up with some ideas about how that can be done. There are a lot of possibilities. Just the question is what do we want to recommend and what does the town or what is the town government willing to?
That's the reason I ask. I just wondered, I'm not, honestly, I'm not that familiar with them, but the one question that would come to mind is, could it be set up as some way, could the fund be set up as a not-for-profit corporation, like a 501c3, where then if, let's say, banks, for example, have to give the community reinvestment monies, they have to give a certain portion to worthwhile organizations, but they have to be private nonprofit 501c3s typically. I'm just wondering if it could be structured in a way that you could solicit corporate contributions as well as individual contributions, knowing that then if it's a registered 501 charity, then at least it's eligible for tax write-offs for the corporations or the individuals who make those contributions.
That is an issue that, the answer to your question is I do not think that's the way it has been done in the state up to this point. It's been done by the town for the town, and the authority comes from the state law, the
I
state
see.
legislation that says, here's what you can do if you would want to set up, if your town wants to set up a housing trust fund. The idea of 501c does make sense in some cases. And in fact, there is, and I don't know what the actual tax designation is, but in town, there is the Concord Meadows, which is a completely independent organization that raised money, built the building, manages it, and they are a not-for-profit.
Mhm.
You know, we could actually go talk to them and understand a little bit more about what they do. It's a similar organization, not so much that actually runs things, but helps develop some affordable projects in Guilford. Separate from, but the town has its own trust fund, and then there's this other group that does similar work. Presumably coordinates. But I think the idea, first of all, getting actually qualified as a tax-free organization that takes time. It may take a year or two, it could take a very long time. And so you make your application, but until you can get your tax letter, you can't tell anybody they can donate money or anything like that. And we ended up, I had a group that I ran in New York City, and we ended up giving up after a year and a half, and we actually merged with a company that already had a tax 501c designation, and just merged into it. It's just bureaucracy, and the way it's going on right now in Washington, I would say that it won't get better before probably get worse. Just in terms of they don't have as many people there.
Yeah, well, and it's another accounting challenge for a municipality. I think that's your biggest hurdle first.
I was just looking at ways to try to further encourage.
I like the idea. I mean, it's there could be very well. I mean, it's again, the Concord Meadows was done by, it was a faith community that got together and put together that they had a number of, what, 20, more than that, right? 30 years ago. Where did Concord Meadows been around for a long time?
Yeah.
30 years ago. It's done.
Yeah, there's a way to do it though. We have a library in town that is a nonprofit organization and is supported by town funds. And there is an integrated board with town people as well as board members that are not associated with the town that kind of run the show with regard to that. So we need to do a little bit more research from a legal standpoint and a tactical standpoint, as Erin pointed out, because we don't want to be setting up something that's going to be a burden because we were very thinly staffed administratively for the town.
They've also talked about that public-private partnership, that if there is a nonprofit in the community who's willing to be that donor, that shell almost, right, where that can receive the gifts. Or be able to have that as a tax write-off, because folks wouldn't be able to get that write-off for the town. I don't know that we have identified.
No, but I
party
think it'd be
that
interesting to
work with, but that's another.
Yeah, but it might be interesting to exactly. Because they've been successful. They've had, you know, for seniors, it's an age restriction, but also I think for people who have the handicaps and won't serve.
Yeah, that's a USDA funded.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
It was built in 1977. I just Googled it.
So
The other,
So give me your availabilities or non-availabilities, you can make it that way, and then I will avoid getting us in jail, and so. Anything that violates the code.
I'm sorry, but to just dovetail on the comments about the housing trust fund again, of which I have zero knowledge. But some of the ideas that you were mentioning as far as things that could be funded through it, I think it dovetails very nicely with what David Corus will be sharing with your committee next month about the Connecticut Municipal Development Authority and how they have funds available to do feasibility studies and to do municipal infrastructure improvements and to make loans to developers. So it will be, but the town of Madison would need, by virtue of its board of selectmen, to
He
opt
presented
in.
to the board, but I think at this point they have not voted to accept.
So maybe it would be good for your committee to urge that they do.
That would be a good thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So you've invited David to come?
Yes, and I have to change the date unfortunately, but it was originally the 15th of October. The meeting.
Yeah, I think that is also would relate to zoning related changes too. I think that's useful for the planning and zoning commission to listened to. I don't know that they
Oh,
necessarily paid attention at the Board of Selectmen level, but as they're kicking off zoning regulation changes and things, that affects
Yeah.
significantly affects the current zoning regulations downtown.
I thought they already met with him, Erin.
No, I don't,
No.
no, he met with the Board of Selectmen via Zoom. I believe that's the only.
Peggy and I have
So
met
we
with.
should, yeah, that should be, we should have that, we should invite them to that. So I'm sorry, what is the date? Because, I actually had mentioned it to several people.
It's gonna be the week of November, whatever the date is. It will be the following week. It's the 15th. It was originally the 15th. I put in the agenda. It's now a 2 weeks. It's the first weekend, first Wednesday in November. I can't tell you when it is.
The fifth.
Fifth,
Yeah. It is the
It's
fifth.
fifth.
The fifth?
It is November. November 5.
And is he coming in person or is he?
No, I expect to be Zoom.
Zooming again.
David. K-O-O-R-I-S.
And
Hey,
he's,
when are the elections? We're having some local elections, Mark. What date is that?
The day before.
11/4.
Okay.
Okay, so, yeah, jumped ahead and told you about the new time for that. A couple other things we want to just talk about generally, and that is the Academy School. The request for information or proposals that went out, they're due at the end of this month. Then there was an opportunity for developers to walk through the building, look at it, think about it. And then I'm not sure if there's a deadline for proposals, so that would be coming after, right? Is there not a specific date for the,
The deadline, I think, is the end of October.
yeah, so what's theirs?
they have to move the proposal 30 days later?
I think that was in the document, the deadlines for coming and the deadlines for proposals.
I think
End of September, end of October, or something like that.
October is the end for Academy, September is the end for the facilities.
Right. So I think one of the things that we might want to do is make an official recommendation for the housing committee that this, if at all possible, this property is redeveloped, should be redeveloped for some kind of affordable housing. So. Open it to. Did anybody want to comment?
So you mean make a recommendation to the
Well,
board? of
we're
selectmen
not
that they
recommending,
review?
because we don't know what the proposals are gonna be. And whatever the proposals are down forward with, it should include some form of affordable housing. And I talked about financing, we talked about the fact the building's falling down, all these other issues that have come up. So I don't think we can be a whole lot more specific. But I think we are the affordable housing committee, so we should say.
Has there been any genuine interest in redeveloping?
No, no one has, can't open any bids until
Has there
the
been? bids?
period closes. I don't know.
Okay.
Personally, I don't know that the town has received anything yet.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
And
But we're still early in the process. It does close on October 29th at noon. So
Yeah.
we still have over a month.
The walk.
Well,
That's for academy, or
That's Academy.
Yeah.
but for the schools.
That
wait a minute.
Oh, Jeffrey.
I'm sorry, what was the-
No, this is completely separate.
Mark's talking specifically about the Academy.
So you're only talking about giving a
There-
request to consider affordable housing at academy.
What I would propose, and I can draft this and then we can vote on it next time we want to, but the idea is that there's gonna be one of two things are gonna happen. One, there'll be somebody coming in with a proposal to redevelop that will be accepted. We don't know what that means. There'll also could be a possibility that no one knows. No proposals are made, in which case then they're gonna have to spend money on a demolition. Is any other return?
Right.
Worked out, that's, yeah. So the statement I would make, recommend to the committee is that if a developer is attracted to develop this thing, a proposal accepted, redevelop this property, that affordable housing should be made a portion of it. Now, it could be in the sense of letting artists, studios slash living accommodations there or something like that. It doesn't have to be specific to what, what kind of housing. Veterans, talk about all those other people who want to be able to be using that space. But I think this is an opportunity. It's the same as the vacant land that's going to be made vacant in the future. It's town-owned land. So we said years ago that any town-owned property that is put out for redevelopment should first consider having affordable housing for the land. That we put in the, also put that in the recommendations to the board of selectmen to the spring meeting.
So Mark.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, let's take Mike.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one, I do not think we should attempt to micromanage the academy request for proposal,
Oh, my God.
right, at all.
Too many dead bodies left over the last 20 years.
But I think if this committee is actually doing its job, which is trying to advocate and foster affordable housing in Madison, I think it's totally appropriate for us to pass some, some motion that says we recommend or request that priority consideration be given to any project that has an affordable housing component. And just, it's a fairly neutral statement. They can hear it and ignore it, or they could hear it and say, oh, that is something that we should, maybe it would open it up to question. I think it would be a good move for us as a committee to stand and say something.
Anthony.
Yeah, academy aside, I just don't think that's an issue. I think it's a dead issue, to be honest with you.
If it is, then it's a dead issue.
Yeah, I
We don't lose anything by having
All right.
it turning into a dead.
Phase two of that, I mean, the other part that you were referencing, facilities, right? Did the facilities that make recommendations, identify properties?
No.
Remember the list?
There's a
I missed
list.
it.
Oh, no, I sent out an email to everybody, but
No, we just said it around. Francine and.
I didn't so as you were.
That's okay. After the last time we all talked, they reached out and talked to David Finns again. And basically, I'd have to pull my email, because I'm forgetting the exact information, but.
Yeah.
I think that what he told me is they hope to have their final information and proposals or recommendations. I don't know, proposals, sorry, but their recommendations to the Board of Selectmen by the end of the year. And then hoping, and so really, we're at a standstill with that. We just have to wait for that to happen.
Okay, I understand that part too.
Yes.
Do they
yeah, that's
recognize,
right.
do they consider and recognize affordable housing?
Oh, yes, and by the, yeah.
They have included in their RFP out for this multi-site conceptual plan development has a table of specific vacant parcels that they have identified wanting a consultant to assess some type of feasibility.
Okay.
There's a column in that table that notes types of use, housing, things like that. And I think
Alright.
that's the next conversation of having the committee.
Right.
be
But let's go,
Let me
let me go back.
clarify what he said.
Let me just go back to what Anthony was saying. What I started out with saying is that we don't know what the results are gonna be. And if the results are that there is nothing that's viable in that property, then there's nothing viable in the property. But were they to develop it, if they were to move to redevelop it, what we'd be recommending is that affordable housing be part of that process. That's what we're trying to say. So, I mean, it's not a question of saying we want you to save the building or anything else. What we're just simply
Yeah.
saying is, in the event that this town-owned property is redeveloped for some purpose, that we recommend that one of those purposes, and perhaps primary purpose, as we've said, presentations before the selectmen, should be to include affordable housing as part of it. And that it should not be, so in my personal opinion, I mean, what Michael just said before is exactly right. I mean, I think that's our charge, is to promote affordable housing.
Agreed.
Here is something that's come up that is immediate. And if we don't take a position and say this should be done, I don't know what the purpose of our committee is.
Yeah. I hear you.
I,
She was just sending a letter out like Michael suggested, for what it's worth. It's fine. But just to clarify, the facilities committee. So-
And Jane is,
Oh, I'm sorry.
there's just two observations about Academy. First of all, we already know that, there was, opposition to housing when Tom Banish wanted to do it. And I know that was a long time ago, but there's that residual thought process that that might happen again. The second thing is one of the things that I've heard from somebody locally who seems to have known the person who headed up the committee in charge of the academy project that when they were first going through that whole thought process, before they got all the funding to make it a community center, that apparently there's a lot of cleanup and a lot of residual asbestos. And apparently it's not just in the walls, it's in the brick and mortar as well. And because it's been sitting so long, what that does is it creates a bigger expense for anyone who's developing it. And the likelihood of somebody putting affordable housing there, that margin becomes even more narrow because of the fact that affordable housing already has its financing challenges, and now you're throwing in an environmental issue that will need to be addressed before anybody could actually live in that building. And then actually there's a third thing. I mean, the facilities committee, Peggy's made it clear to us that they are the committee driving what's going to be recommended for land parcels owned by the town. And we are to see what they come up with regard to what is suitable land-wise for potential housing. So I feel like if we could say that, I think we could send a very nice letter, Mark, saying, we would be hopeful that there might be housing if someone was going to come and put a lot of money into that space. And that would be a nice thing to do because that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's our mission. But I'm just, looking at it from a practical standpoint, it's,
I think.
I agree. I went to one of the meetings where a Yale subject matter expert stood up and said what Jane said, that no matter how much remediation any professionals do, it's in the brick and the mortar and the soil.
It's in the
You can't
dirt.
put
It's in the
adults
dirt.
and children.
but I mean, anyone who's successful at redeveloping the site is gonna tear down an incredibly high percentage of that building. I mean, they literally might leave the facade.
Yeah, but I think, we're now having a conversation
Yeah.
locally.
Yeah, but-
What everybody's saying is it has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Right.
We're saying, as a committee, do we want to say that in the event that it's redeveloped, it should be given, the town should give high consideration for selecting a developer who will put in affordable housing?
Yeah.
If that's, and as far as the practical things or whatever you say, I mean, who cares? I mean, we have nothing to do with that. I mean, if they can't, no one can do that, the financing doesn't work, who cares? We're just saying that if this piece of land is being used and redeveloped, we should recommend that there's affordable housing is included. So and it's nothing to do with interfering with the process either. We don't want to interfere. We don't want to be involved in the process.
Again, that was my proposal.
Yeah.
Like, we're not getting into any of the details.
No.
It's just, if a proposal is out there, we'd like it to have affordable housing.
And we have in
And
our,
it doesn't happen, Jane, for all the practical reasons you've mentioned.
it doesn't happen. If it's not redeveloped, then nothing's gonna be done with it. So and even the redevelopment, by the way, is going to require all the remediation and you're talking about. You can't just knock down a building with all that stuff in it and hope that nothing happens, You have to tent it and do all this other stuff, so. That is gonna be a major cost no matter what happens. Okay, so is this acceptable? Let me draft, or maybe Michael will draft a resolution that we could then approve at our next meeting.
Well, I mean, I guess I have a question. I raised it as a concept, and both Jane and Anthony have raised their doubts about whether it's even worth saying
Oh, well, I'll be the third person on that. I have no problem doing it. I think it's a totally waste of time.
Well,
Academy is
yeah,
not going to be.
it's a dead issue. It's
Dead,
totally
it's dead as far as I'm concerned, but I'm not gonna say, oh,
I
that's a
think,
terrible idea.
honestly, I don't know if I disagree with my committee, but basically, just the point.
I'm not missing the point.
It's not a waste of time.
I'm not
Because
wasting the point. I'm pretty
Our
clear.
job is to recommend. to
I
the
think we
town-
should,
Our
whatever,
job is to recommend
it's a waste of time.
more affordable housing. in town. So not a waste of time.
So,
Yeah.
You're allowed to be frustrated with their responses,
No.
but the reason why I went back to them was if you see this, if the three of you see this actually as a negative for our committee, we shouldn't do.
No, as he says, it's a waste of time, but that's all.
Well, I'm not the only person that said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not for nothing, let's just go back to, no developer wanted to touch it because they're not taking the baseball fields. I mean, we were all here. Like, Mark, let me finish. No one wanted to touch it. Now that it's toxic waste, hazardous material, no one's gonna touch it because they're still not gonna get the baseball fields. It's gonna be millions upon millions to remediate even the soil. No one's gonna, I just think, and people voted on it, okay?
Yeah.
People voted on it and we're still with this BS.
Well, let me ask a question.
I think we should focus on the
What's
facilities.
the purpose of the letter? What's the purpose? What are we hoping to accomplish with the letter?
That's a great question.
The
So,
the process, the wheels are in motion requesting letter, expressions of interest.
I thought,
So the concept is that the Board of Selectmen are, when the time comes, they are going to consider whatever expressions come in.
can I ask,
And so the question is,
Let him finish.
does the committee want to advocate for affordable housing on this town project? Because the Board of Selectmen is going to have some response to consider. And do you want to be consistent in taking your stance when, or advocating, not taking a stand, but advocating for housing in whatever opportunities come up? So whether we agree with the opportunity or not, that's the question. It's happening.
I guess what I
And
guess I
actually,
misunderstood.
considering the big picture, it almost looks
I guess I misunderstood.
begging and pitiful that we're.
I guess I
Begging for
misunderstood
a
the
cabin.
document I received. I thought that the people that were submitting proposals were like organized people, RFP, all that kind of stuff. I didn't know that anybody, that they were also, that the call was anybody that has an interest in which happened with this body, send me a letter. So I thought it was,
It's not, I
I
think
thought it was
it's
official.
it's beyond just a letter, but
Well, that's
it's
all we-
not at the level of an
very
RFP.
detailed, it's a very detailed process, but we don't know yet what the proposals are gonna be. They haven't been submitted yet,
No, I guess.
and maybe none will be submitted. But
True.
I mean, Eric said it really well. It's an ongoing process that the town, after the vote not to build the community center, the town Board of Selectmen chose not to make it a dead issue. And they're giving people one more chance. Now, you may disagree with that, may think it's a waste of time. I have my own opinion about it as well, but it is there. That they've taken a position that they want to hear one more time if anyone has, a proposal they're ready to do.
And I get it, Mike, who's anyone? Like,
Yeah,
it's Francine's saying,
I'm-
who's
that's what
anyone?
I
It's gonna be
misunderstood that.
developers, it's gonna be,
I thought it was more of a formal
So did I.
request. When I read the document that was put out and that you circulated it and I had already read it, I didn't, maybe I didn't read it closely enough, but I didn't know, and I didn't know that what the town was saying is they have put out a call for
Expressions of interest.
from anybody and anybody. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith that live on 1, 2, 3.
Well, no, so
No,
they
just gets off.
No.
Okay.
no, this is to build,
Yes,
They would throw out.
that's not us. But again, I don't have any big objection. I think yes, what I mean by saying it's a waste of time is don't think, care one way or the other about our letter. But yes, as a formality and as a mission of our committee, sure. Let's send a letter to put it on the record that we think that that our mission should be a consideration when they receive these proposals. I have no problem with that, okay?
Well, that's all it is. That's what I've been saying all along. That's all
But
it is.
again, I thought, it still doesn't tell, that's still not what I think that statement from the board of
Yeah.
US is asking for. But again, no problem. I don't, you know.
You
No
mean
harm, no foul.
in the documents that went
Yes,
out,
yes.
I think that's a way of keeping the request broad enough where you're not narrowing developers down with a cost burden of the level of detail that's required in an RFP. This is a little more open-ended. It gives the board some flexibility in looking at a concept that they may want to develop further with someone in particular and go in that direction. It's not, but it kind of relieves some of that upfront cost. And it's a different approach than what was done previously in proposals.
I mean, I would just say.
I'll just add to that. It doesn't hurt just to send a note, hey, don't forget about affordable housing. We are the commission, we should send a note. Yes, but just know, I understand, low likelihood it'll happen unless, to Aaron's point, the town somehow says, oh, you know what? Here's a developer and he wants to do a mixed use building and maybe we could throw in a couple of affordable units and who knows where the town could come up with some money. They could suddenly say, oh my God, we can use part of that grant that we got 5 years ago. You know what? We got that renewed. You don't know. So if there's a possibility, yes, we should put our 2 cents in there and say, don't forget about us. I'm just saying right now, with today's environment, unlikely, but who am I? I'm not the expert. And I'll take Aaron's point because you don't know what's going to go on financially behind the scenes. There might be a rainmaker that comes up with, an extra $10 million or something.
You can't tell, but the thing is,
That far, but
I would like to talk to that guy.
I have to run, so I'll let you guys debate this because I have another meeting I have to go to.
I don't think there's any, hopefully it won't no more debate. I think we're coming to a consensus. I don't think maybe not.
Well, I mean,
No,
the last thing I'll say is frankly, the town shouldn't need a letter from us to know this. This, they know.
Okay, thanks,
Honestly,
Jane.
but that's
Thank you.
fine.
I'm gonna run.
It's not.
Jane.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, and we haven't been
Our
before the
job
Board of
is to-
Selectmen that many times for them to always have us in the back of the company.
We want the people, that's our thing we've said in the presentation, which you all approved, the presentation that I made at the Board of Selectmen. One of the items is there saying if town is going to use their land to redevelop it for some reason, they should at least give it first consideration to whether it should be affordable housing.
Yeah.
And this happens to be a piece which has a building on it, but it's town land. So it fits into exactly what we've been saying all along. If you're gonna do town land, let's consider that at least be part of the conversation. And we also made it very clear that if they decide they want to do pasture instead of that, that's the decision the town can make, but it can make a decision, and so I don't know whether or not we're gonna get anybody that has any expressions of interest that are qualified. I mean, possibly be, it's not gonna be, a couple from North Madison. And we don't know if they even take it to the next step, when we're gonna get any viable proposals. So those are the 2 next steps, and I think the point was made that it's, the town is, and you're right, I mean, the town is moving on that process. We are on the outside of it with one thing, one part of our job is to do that. So if everybody is comfortable, at least that, do we all agree that that's what we're doing and we're not telling anybody to do anything or requiring, we're not saying preserve the building, we're not taking a position on any of this stuff. But what we're just simply saying is, if you are redeveloping, if you've hired a developer, that we want them to consider affordable housing.
Sure.
Okay.
sure.
I'd be happy to address.
Okay, let's do that. We'll go to do a review on the next meeting, so we'll do that. Jane is. That's.
I'm sorry, just as a point of information, listening to the conversation, the good news is, a lot has happened. I realized that Academy closed, roughly a little over 20 years ago. And a lot of funding sources over those 20 years changed. And when it comes to housing and environmental remediation, to the better. And I'm involved in a few things right now where private developers are receiving through the DECD, Connecticut Department of Economic Community Development's Brownfields program. The towns are serving as conduits for the private developers for money to flow through. And in fact, a couple things I'm very familiar with right now involve remediation of asbestos, not only in floor tile, but in pipe wrapping, PCB caulking, which was commonly used in the early 1900s in windows, and asbestos, I'm sorry, lead. The other thing was lead. So lead, asbestos, and PCBs, all very well known, needing to be remediated, and monies are available for that very purpose. So where a private developer just going in with looking at conventional financing might be intimidated by the presence of lead, asbestos, and PCBs, with the availability of some funding sources through DECD and other places, it actually makes it a very doable situation to do remediation of those substances.
That's true. I took advantage of that, and I had received a brownfields assessment grant for Academy. So we were able to do some of the things too, the hazardous building material, so we have at least an understanding of what's in the building and in the ground associated with it. But yes, that's the next step. So
Right.
those opportunities for.
So it's not as scary perhaps as would initially be.
Yeah, and I'm really, I know there are people on both sides of this issue, but I am perfectly neutral. I mean, if at this point, I feel the process has to work out, and then you have a decision to make. And until we get a decision, there's no decision. So anticipating what will happen in the future, I have no idea. Up till the time a proposal is really reviewed, and then we'll see. I mean, if they decide they want to put an Exxon gas station there, well, okay, we may have an opinion. See, we do need another gas station in town. Okay.
Especially downtown.
Moving ahead
A bank, no, we need another bank.
No, yeah.
well, maybe have a bank with a gas station.
Well, back to the
With a
case.
pump station.
I'm feeling like we need another bar, but that's a whole other.
Okay, maybe you should have a decent drinking establishment is what you're thinking.
More.
Right.
Oh,
Well, we can put that in the when
okay.
we're drafting, we can do that.
Whiskey and cigar lounge,
Yeah, exactly. You don't have a place like that, no good pub. Because, this week, we talked about at the last meeting, but it was a long time ago, to just remind people that I believe Anthony and Jane, our liaison to the PNC working group that's going to be working on this revised,
So it was me.
you didn't volunteer, I'm not sure, maybe you weren't sure. I thought it was just you and Anthony, and they certainly will, Anthony and Jane. No, that's right. Are you,
I mean, I'm happy to do
watch out, we
it.
might have a committee, we might have a meeting in the afternoon.
And how will that work?
Well,
There are no details yet.
Okay.
We just signed the contract.
We did.
we will have a resolution on it, so don't worry. No, they have not yet hired the person who's going to do the
Yes, we have,
Gotcha.
it's tight,
Just
the
signed.
person's not in place, should I say. I mean, the process has not begun.
correct.
Process has not begun.
Okay.
And what Carol has said that she's planning to do, which I assume everybody here knows, but is to have a working group that would work with the consultant and the
Right.
is they come back and forth. So being that liaison and have our voice heard in that process, and at the same time be able to understand or back to the committee
But
what's
then,
going on, and that's it. Table, so. And I think as far as it's, liaison, I mean, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, I don't think. Carol's gonna be a problem. I think the whole committee. And, I'll only read my own notes. I'm sorry, facilities. We had a conversation with Peggy and Aaron this morning in this meeting. And they are hiring a consultant as well. And recommended that the consultant comes on to us. So, I'm not going to hire anyone on the have them talk to us, and explain what they're doing. horse's mouth reading what's actually going to take place. And I think the feeling is it's well into next year before the results are.
Yeah, that sounds a little later than what you had mentioned, Francine, about having some feedback by the end of the calendar year.
I'm gonna pull up that, but he's gonna show.
I'm not sure that's realistic for a consultant to get all of that done.
Not only just the.
Yeah.
And the idea there, Vance, was just the idea was that these guys would come in and do the technical analysis. It's an overview they've already completed, looking at properties. They have designated things like for housing or for this purpose or that purpose. And that would be a technical evaluation of whether that's them. So
Yeah, some existing facilities and then some of the vacant parcels.
On August 25th, I talked to Dave and I sent this email out to many people. That the Thursday prior, in response to Thursday prior to 8/25. In response to a request from the Facilities Committee, the BOS approved and the Board of Finance funded an RFP with 3 components. The first is for an evaluation of Memorial Town Hall. The second is for an evaluation of Jefferson and Ryerson schools. And the third is for the evaluation of town-owned parcels. Included in the town-owned parcels is the evaluation of parcels suitable for affordable housing. Additionally, in RFPs, the Facilities Committee identified 3 parcels they suggest is appropriate for affordable housing. The first is the parcel on the east side of Cops Road in Bauer Park. The second is the parcel on Fort Path where DPW is east from Newbury. And the third is on County Road in Northern. These are all 3 places that Jamie pointed out. And in fact, the third one is one that they didn't know. Per day, there's approximately 45 to 50 acres of town-owned land that could be suitable for housing. I don't think he, and forensic, I don't think he meant exclusively for AH, but
no, I did not.
the RFPs are to go out. This is what Dave told me. The RFPs are to go out by the end of the month, which was August, with an expectation of response by the end of September. The Facilities Committee expects to report back to the BOS with a comprehensive report of their recommendations by February 2026. So that's what I was told, and that's what I passed on to them.
Yeah, no.
Now,
That's the RFP that went
so
out.
who knows? And then, you know, for us now at that point, there's nothing else for us to do about town because we gotta wait for them and all of this to flesh out. So that's what it's.
Yeah, okay.
And
That was the
I think
first one, I'm sorry, but
I'm sorry, what?
the first of the 3 was.
Memorial
The
Town
first
Hall.
one,
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
no, of the parcels, the RFPs?
yes,
No.
you listed 3 things. I didn't hear the first. one.
Memorial Town Hall,
The first-
Jeffrey Ryers.
Right, and then the,
And the posters
And
Is it
It's on the
Jeffrey
website.
Ryerson, Aaron?
in the RFPs.
Is it Jeffrey Ryerson?
yes,
Those are the 2 school
Okay.
parcels.
Yeah.
And I think he said February, probably later than that.
Yes.
So he hasn't started his work yet.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of the details of that. I have a copy of the RFP and
Okay,
asked David to stay.
they haven't hired.
No, the
Still haven't hired.
deadline is September 30th for proposals. So then they'll have a bid opening and then they'll review and schedule a committee, I guess, and working groups to do interviews.
that's 4 consultants then?
Yes. Feasibility, it's gonna have some level of engineering, architecture.
Land use.
The 120-day
Exactly.
process.
There's gonna be some planning.
Probably.
Yeah, I would hope, right.
What he said was, he said for instance, they just read it would be January, February, and that would be if they hired the guy or hired the company on the 1st of October. Like,
They're not gonna get a
Okay.
contract till like
Winter time and
at the
whatnot.
earliest with anybody.
Okay, any other comments, questions, anybody?
No.
Please.
When is our next meeting? I'm,
Next
I am
week.
confused, we were doing like every 2 weeks.
Well, that's
Summer.
well, summer, we did,
Right, but
no one volunteered to here, but no, it's the first Monday and the third Wednesday, the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday every month, so it's not exact, so it's, not
If the
exact 24
meeting-
times a year rather than 26 times a year, so it's not every 2 weeks, it's actually
the first and
slightly
so right now it's October 1 and October.
October whatever that first.
I can send you the annual meeting.
Back, yeah, October 1 is the first one.
Yeah, I'll send you we had to submit to the town what our schedule was. I can copy it, I'll send it to them.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's 3 Wednesdays in October, the 1st and the 15th are what are, but not always.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's been the first and the third Wednesday.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna schedule David Torres for the last meeting in October.
No, you said November,
Yeah, you said November.
I'm sorry, I didn't know there were.
November 5th.
There are 3 Wednesdays, but we're only.
There are 3 Wednesdays in October, so we're only doing the first and the.
Right.
15th.
So. Do November
5th.
5, I think we said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to reach out to Carol and let her know?
To,
To Carol and let her know and maybe invite
David,
some
yes.
members
I will.
of P and Z if they'd like to come and join that meeting? Useful for them to us. We'll participate.
Yeah, it's true for data, the programs, you're right, the
It's an assessment of our zoning.
but
That has to work.
whatever they're going to do, they want to be sure the zoning conforms to.
Right, and our zoning currently would not be certifiable, I guess is the, how they review it now, so, but since we're undertaking a comprehensive
Is
update
there
now.
POCD going on now?
No, we completed the POCD, but we're starting a zoning update, so that's relative
That's gonna
to
be-
consider what would be needed to really kind of work.
If there is no other business, we can adjourn. Anybody?
Thank you.
Oh, that's, we didn't recognize the. More information.
Don't we end this?
Yeah.
Oh, what are
When participants.
Heather was here listening, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael.
Bye, Heather.